Criminal file: the widow victim. In one of Italy's cities along the banks of the Tiber River, two floating bags were discovered. Despite the significant distance between them, the connection between the two bodies was undeniable. They belonged to a woman in her 30s and a little girl. The questions arose: who were they? Who committed this horrific crime? Why? This case became one of the most significant forensic investigations of 2020, shedding light on a reality that might be occurring in many households around us. Discovery of the crime. At 8:10 p.m., a young man was strolling along the river promenade when he noticed a large bag with something mysterious inside. As he approached and slightly opened it, he was horrified to find a human head inside. Terrified, he quickly closed the bag and called for help. Soon a crowd gathered and they pulled the bag out of the water. Upon opening it, they found the body of a woman in her 30s. There was no identification on her, and decomposition had already set in due to prolonged exposure to water. She was fully dressed, but the marks around her neck indicated that she had been strangled. As the authorities began examining the area, they noticed another smaller bag floating at a significant distance. When they retrieved and opened it, they were met with a second shock. Inside was the body of a little girl, also fully dressed, with similar strangulation marks on her neck. Initial investigations? At first glance, the forensic team immediately linked the two bodies. The method of killing was identical, the bags were of the same type, and the decomposition stages were similar, suggesting that the deaths occurred around the same time. Bodies were taken to the forensic lab, where the autopsy report confirmed that they belonged to a mother and her daughter, and that the cause of death was a strangulation. The report also revealed another shocking detail. The mother had been subjected to sexual intercourse before her murder, hinting at a possible sexual assault. Authorities began reviewing missing persons reports and soon found one that matched. A woman named Elisa Marconi, 37 years old, and her 10-year-old daughter, Sofia. The report had been filed by her late husband's family, who stated that they had lost contact with her 5 days earlier. The hunt for the killer. Investigations revealed that Elisa was a widow. Her husband had passed away 5 years prior, and she had been living alone with her daughter ever since. Her late husband's family confirmed that she had distanced herself from them after his death, dedicating her life entirely to raising her daughter. Upon obtaining a search warrant for her apartment, investigators found no signs of a crime scene. Everything was in place, raising the question, if she wasn't killed at home, then where did the crime occur? Detectives started gathering information from Elisa's neighbors, including her closest friend, Carla Rossi, and her husband, Marco Ferrari, who were close to Elisa. Carla claimed that her relationship with Elisa was like that of sisters and that she treated Elisa's daughter as her own. However, investigators noticed something odd. While Marco spoke about Elisa, Carla's facial expressions changed involuntarily, raising suspicion. Detectives decided not to alert her and continued their investigation discreetly, uncovering the truth. Authorities examined Elisa's phone records and discovered that her last call was with Marco at 4:30 p.m., exactly a week before the bodies were found, the same day she disappeared. Even more suspicious was the frequent exchange of calls and messages between Elisa and Marco, indicating a close relationship. When confronted again, Marco broke down and confessed everything, insisting that his wife Carla had no involvement in the crime. Deadly affair. According to Marco's confession, the story began in 2015 after Elisa's husband passed away. Carla, being her closest friend, often advised her to remarry, but Elisa always refused, saying she wanted to dedicate herself to raising her daughter. However, the truth was quite different. Elisa was having an affair with Marco, her best friend's husband. Just 2 months after her husband's death, Marco started getting close to Elisa, exploiting her loneliness. He told her that he was unhappy in his marriage, and since she was aware of his marital issues, she sympathized with him. Gradually, their relationship turned into a secret affair that lasted for 4 years. During this time, they would secretly meet at Carla's house or Elisa's apartment. The confrontation. Over the years, Carla began to suspect something, especially after noticing that her daughter mentioned seeing Aunt Elisa visiting their home when Carla wasn't around. Carla started monitoring her husband's behavior and eventually confirmed his affair with her best friend. When she confronted Marco, he denied it vehemently, swearing his innocence, almost convincing her. But at the same time, Marco decided to end his affair with Elisa to avoid exposure. However, Elisa refused to let go and threatened to reveal everything to Carla if he tried to leave her. Feeling trapped, Marco saw only one way out. He decided to kill her, executing the crime. Marco called Elisa telling her that Carla wasn't home and inviting her over, just like before. Trusting him, Elisa went to his house, bringing her daughter along. As usual, she let her daughter play outside while she entered the bedroom, unaware that it would be for the last time. After their intimate encounter, Marco strangled Elisa until he was certain she was dead, and he stepped outside and strangled her innocent daughter as well. Then placed both bodies in large plastic bags and, under the cover of night, carried them to the river and dumped them into the water. Conclusion: this case is not just a story of murder. It is a harsh lesson in trust and betrayal. We must be cautious about whom we allow into our lives because sometimes the ones closest to us pose the greatest danger. As for the innocent child, her tragic fate was the consequence of mistakes she had no part in. Perhaps in a way, death was a mercy for her, sparing her from growing up in such a toxic environment.